What is your current perspective on, say, synthetic options for psychedelic compounds, in the sense that I found an older interview where you were interviewed by Nailed magazine, and there was a bit of a discussion about, synthetic / freeze dried ayahuasca. And you mentioned how, and feel free to revise this, but how you felt that it may be a psychedelic, but it's not ayahuasca, because the ayahuasca experience begins when you taste it, and the purging is potentially a feature and not a bug. Mm-hmm. And I'd just be curious to know, let's say in the case of ayahuasca, what do you think some of the most viable solutions might be to avoiding over-harvesting and endangering these various plant species? Is the synthetic route, creating pharmahuasca alternatives, viable, attractive, unappealing, ill-fated? What's your perspective?
I think we have to look at all viable solutions. For example, psilocybin mushrooms don't really have that issue. I mean, they're not endangered.
Right.
They can be grown by megatons. So we're not going to run out of psilocybin. And maybe if we want to go with natural psychedelics, maybe we should emphasize those. There is a lot of global interest in psilocybin, and ayahuasca is endangered, and peyote certainly is endangered, and things like iboga are endangered.
On the verge of extinction.
It's on the verge of extinction. And I think part of the solution is, number one, I think the community, the psychedelic community, to the degree that there is one, really has to step up and be responsible. And I think that the community should seek consensus. For example, peyote is a good example. The community, like these Decrim movements that are happening across the country and in other countries and so on, in general, I'm in favor of them, but the indigenous people have asked, don't decriminalize peyote. Let it be our thing. Well, I disagree with not decriminalizing it, because fundamentally I think no plant, no organism should be criminalized. I think the very idea is repulsive to me. But that said, the community can say, let's not criminalize it, but let's protect it, and let's develop a community consensus that, okay, we'll just put peyote behind a fence. We'll say it's the indigenous people's thing. We will not encourage on that. We'll respect that, and we'll avoid using peyote. Some of these other things, wachuma, for example, wachuma is a good source. It's not endangered yet. It's much more abundant. It's easier to grow. That's a good alternative. We're at a point with wachuma where we can use it responsibly. If we don't, then it too may become endangered eventually. Ayahuasca is a very tricky one. I think that pharmahuasca is fine, but it's not ayahuasca. It may have uses, and it's a different drug. It's completely different. And I have nothing against synthetics, I think synthetics have their place. And like I like to tell people, synthetics they're made by all natural organic chemists, right? So they come from nature ultimately.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see happen, if it could, is developing over time, developing relationships with indigenous communities to produce medicines like ayahuasca, but not encourage people to go to South America to take ayahuasca. Encourage these communities to produce them and take the medicine to the people rather than people to the medicine. Develop ways that are legal to export them to North America, Europe, and so on, and through Decrim establish centers where people can come and have these psychedelic experiences that are legal and safe and well structured and all that, and give benefits back to the people who produce it, who grow it economic benefits, but kind of avoid the disruption of the culture that happens when all these rich gringos come down there to take ayahuasca. And I mean, I'm guilty. I've organized lots of ayahuasca retreats. I mean, I've seen tremendous benefits for people that come to those retreats, but I've kind of evolved in my view of it, whether that is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't. And that's why Decrim is important. But I think Decrim has got to be very thoughtful and clear in its approach to this. And say, well, we're not going to encroach on things like iboga and ayahuasca, or do it in this way. Bring the medicines north rather than the people south. And that would transform communities as well, in both places. So that's this is not something that's going to happen next week or next year. This will take a decade or more, and it depends on how the laws can be changed.
Yeah, I would
nothing
love
simple
to.
about this.
There's nothing simple.